T'as plein d'amour, Péco. T'as plein d'amour. Okay, I hope this works. I hope you can hear all the purrs. You found the one rubber band, right? No, you're not eating the rubber band. What? Come on. Qui prie. Faut que je tweet. Don't eat the rubber band. Not good for you, baby. Oh. No. Not fun anymore. Not fun anymore. No. Not the rubber band. Come on. Whoop. Whoop. Show your cute face. Whoop. Oh, t'es cute. T'es cute. Hey, Pico. What's up? What's up? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? No, don't eat the catch line. That's the fluffy butt. Oh, oh, all the scratches. All the scratches. Aww. No, she's definitely not as fluffy as Havoc. I don't think there is a cat as fluffy as Havoc. Yeah, she has some really cute toe beans. Show your toe beans, baby. There is one toe that is cream colored and it's the only toe. All the other toes are white. So she has a hole in one of her socks, which fits her character really well. C'est lui. Alright, I'll go set her for her nap. I'll be right back. Say bye, Pico. Do you say bye? Bye bye. Ouais, je sais. Je sais. Hein, bébé? Bon, à tantôt. The most flattering angle ever, but at least it's working. So today everything should be working smoothly, no choppiness, and face cam. So hi everyone. I decided to have a Peko intro because she wasn't in the video last week. She was already sleeping, and now she wasn't sleeping, so I figured it was a good time to show some Peko. She really enjoys like being here and being petted and like being part of the stream, even if she doesn't know. So I think that's quite cute. Catching up on the chat. Alright, well, hi everyone. I see that Otto is here, and Heather, and Lab Accident, and Temple, And Malvina, hi. Scout has an issue with scratching as well. Like, I think it's related to her various allergies and also when the weather is dry, but she tends to really scratch her ears and nose to the and the thing is that Scout is not the most delicate of cats. She's kind of clumsy in that regards, and she often has her claws out just because claws. So she will make scratches on her face and ears, and we have a kind of a gel that we can put on her skin to make it less itchy. But yeah, they don't know when to stop. Oh no. Hey Steven, hi. Alright, so I don't know what you guys think of this idea, but for today I was feeling perhaps like doing something different, and I was looking at my I don't know if you can see it, but no, you can't. I have a cart. I have two carts actually, like this one here, that are full of things that are on the way or to do, and yeah, I figured I would take a look at it, see if I can find something in there that's need doing. And I found this pretty awesome Sennelier full set dot card that Otto had sent me quite some time ago, and I never really got around to swatching these, so I thought, hey, perhaps that's something we could do today that's a bit different, but that's still like informative and about watercolors. So I don't know what you think of this idea. And I'm losing the mic. Oh, that's so awesome! Lab accident. And sorry, everything keeps falling down. I need to clean up this area here. It's kind of a mess because I've been reshuffling supplies around, so it's in this weird stage of cleaning up where everything is messier. Just gotta fix the dot of yellow ochre because it decided to go on an adventure without us. It's perhaps a bit too much water. Funny thing is that I know Otto sent these to me quite some time ago, and when I first tried to peel them off, since these are Sennelier paints and made with honey, it was a bit difficult. But now with the winter that is so dry, like the sheet actually peels quite well, and there is not any paint that sticks to the plastic cover. So I think perhaps in this case waiting was not such a bad idea. See, that's kind of good. Yeah, Havoc really has the perfect name. See, that's nice. That's a really like satisfying peel. I'm really enjoying peeling this off. Like, ah, yes, the color. Oops, see, this one is sticky. Of course, I had to jinx it. I hope the noise is not too loud in the microphone. Okay, so I guess there's only this one that's a bit tricky. There you go. So I gotta keep these and wait. I can put them back on after. Okay, that's good. That's good. The only color that's not there is Opera Rose, because for some reason Sennelier don't put Opera Rose in their full set box. But you know me, I have Opera Rose in my Sennelier palette, so I'll be able to swatch it when we get there. I don't know if you can see. No, you can't see the whole thing. on account of my face cam. I think I could probably do a better job with the face cam. Hold on. Come on. Nope. Nope. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, that's a bit better because I'm basically I love reading about Havoc's crazy zoomies action. Hey Lana, hi. Tea is amazing. Yep, that's good stuff. Question, what dot card are those? This is the special handmade Sennelier dot card that Otto made. I think it was an experiment to see if it was doable, but since the Sennelier paints are kind of weird and really full of honey, it's actually quite hard to make a dot card, I think. Is that it? Otto can help me. I think the Cat Mortem decided to go on an adventure and it's sort of crossed over to the ivory black a bit. I can still see like the dot of ivory black that's perfectly there, but the Caput Mortem decided to like venture around it. The Cat Red Light also decided to have fun. It's really strange because you can see how pigments behave when you have paints like these, because if you look at turquoise green, yellow ochre, this one's golden ochre, Cinere's blue, royal blue, you can see that those pigments are probably much drier because the dot is not as, you know, spread out or flattened as other colors. And it's kind of interesting when you mold the paints, because you often have paints, if you follow the exact same recipe, some paints will dry like really dry and crackly with the same recipe, as other paints will stay sticky. So you never know. There's one thing I need, it's the chart. That's the French one. I'm just gonna see if I can find English one. So I got the Sennelier charts. 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 If we have questions regarding pigments. And yeah. I think there's going to be something really interesting with some names in French and in English. As I was preparing my sheets for the swatching, I was writing down all the names. And I noticed quite a few things that I thought were kind of funny. Like the fact that in English you have colors that are named brown pink and brown green. I can sort of see. But brown pink is kind of a weird thing to try and imagine. So I was a bit curious to see what the name in French was, because, you know, Sennelier is a French company. So I figured that they probably named the paints in French first and then eventually translated them. So yeah, so I got the charts handy if we have questions about that. And I made the charts. I had already done some of the work on the charts, but I had to finish it just before the stream, so I really hope. I think I might have to blow dry these a bit. So I'm gonna mute the stream just for a second, and I will blow dry these with the blow dryer. Okay, hopefully that worked and you didn't have to go through all the awful stuff. Oh yeah, I mean, I love the colors brown pink and brown green, but it's just weird because I don't think I would have ever gone to those names first if I was trying to name a color, you know. Which is kind of, you know, brown pink. Like, I can see it if I was to mix brown and pink together. I would call that brown pink. But yes, I'm gonna have to be careful when I paint over the tape because the ink I used doesn't really dry well over the tape, but let's hope it works anyway. Okay. So there are two things with doing, you know, black spots like this for swatches is what can happen is that either you do it with alcohol ink that if you don't let it sort of dry thoroughly, it repels the water and the color a bit, so it's kind of weird. And the other issue I have is if I use some other kind of pigmented ink, sometimes it doesn't dry well on the tape. Well, maybe it dries well if I'm not at the last minute, but today I'm at the last minute, so. Oh, wow. Tobias, that's a really awesome gift. I kind of dream of the Sennelier set, even if I don't know if I would use it as much, but I like the idea of it. I like that you can have this beautiful box that has all the colors in it. There's something really satisfying to this notion. Sennelier's Caput Mortem, I agree, is gorgeous. And their turquoise green is also lovely, and if you mix the Caput Mortem and the turquoise green, it's one of my favorite mixes for kind of a neutral that has color variations in it. It's really beautiful. Okay, so let's try. I got 2 pots of water, which you can't clearly see on camera, but I got one that is gonna get dirty quite fast, and I have one for rinsing my brush. I usually only have one, but since I'm streaming this, I will try to find a way to not have to change water all the time. So let's start. My brush is the super inexpensive Royal and then Nickel Zen that I kind of use for those things. Swatching. First color is titanium white, also known as the kind of more opaque white in watercolor. Oh wow. Yeah. It's kind of treacherous titanium white because it always dries a bit more transparent. But that's kind of a really nice like opacity for the colors, the color at the first laydown. We want to hang it on the wall and magnet the paint so they don't slide out. Oh, that's kind of a really nice idea. That's the fun thing with you know, paints, is that even if the tube is not brand new, there is something really charismatic about paint tubes. So I wouldn't feel like out of place putting them on the wall as kind of a decoration. Next color is Chinese white, which is usually the less opaque of the whites. It's the one they call the mixing white, I think. I don't use Chinese white a lot because when I want white paint, I usually want it to be fairly opaque. So transparent white is not something that I would reach for first. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. It's It's not dry yet, but still. I am making a mess. Okay. Let's keep this handy because we can check the pigment on these. So this one is PW6 and Chinese white is PW4, which is fairly standard as far as these colors go. Next color is nickel yellow, which is usually PY53. Usually. These, like, I didn't pre-wet these because these are honey-based paints and they are usually fairly easy to re-wet. And yep, they really are. I hope I'm not picking any black ink on this. I should perhaps start my swatch not on the black. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you guys... Okay. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna always confuse the bowl. So this one is already dirtier than this one. This one is cloudy white and this one is like yellow. Oh well. Okay, let's see. Nickel yellow is indeed PY53. Next color is lemon yellow and it's PY3. Also kind of a fairly common color. Let's try this, but not on the black swatch first. I see. I was like, what is this line here? But I think it's the tape that I used sort of ripped up a bit of paper. So there's a kind of a scratch in the paper here. That's the line. If you, I don't know if you can see it, but if you can see some sort of weird line, that's because my tape sucked. Hey Z, hi. Yeah, Otto is really the best mod. I feel super blessed that she's okay with modding my live streams all the time. Okay, next color is a Recollet. It's always one that gives me pause because that looks so much like a French word, and I see it and my brain sort of wants to say it in French, but like the rest of the thought itself is in English, so it just comes to a pause where I'm like, how should I say this? But in French it's auréoline, and auréoline in English, I guess. So it's genuine auréoline, meaning that it's gonna lose its color quite fast and become really gray if exposed to the sun. I don't remember if it also loses its color when you just leave it in like a sketchbook or something. As far as I can tell, is it transparent? Yeah, it's one of the few transparent yellows. Maybe that's why it's still brown. Next we have cadmium lemon yellow. This is usually PY35 and usually at least semi-opaque. It fades and turns gray. It's evil. Yes, it is. Yeah, it fades to grey. It won't fade in a sketchbook. Cool, 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 awesome. My mom uses a reelin and I don't understand why. Does she also uses Winsor & Newton? Okay, next color is primary yellow. I'm gonna try to guess which pigment it is. I think it might be like something like PY 153 perhaps, or 151. Oh, PY 74. Okay. Okay, next line, cadmium yellow deep. We're gonna have more yellows on the other sheet because the way they make their chart and the way Otto structured the chart, which is just like the chart that they have in the booklet, is that it goes across. And I just put that in the yellow one. It goes like across, so we will have more yellow later on. Yeah, that's true. Otto says there are some really good safe reeling hues out there. There's no reason to use PY40. I agree. Sorry. That's just too funny, lab accident. She's super. Lab accident says that their mom is super nitpicky about it, and then she complains that it fades. And yes, she does mainly use Winsor & Newton. I'm trying to change that by giving her a variety of colors from my stash. Yeah, I'm gonna go like first page and then second page. Oh no, I'm sorry. I think it's just gonna be less shuffling around of paper, so I will just do this side and then do the other one. I kind of really like this color. I know it's an orange, and Otto's gonna look at me with big eyes, like big grumpy eyes, because she's not a fan of oranges. But yeah. She's also super picky about using real rose madder and real alizarin crimson, and then she still complains. I'm just gonna eye check. Yeah, maybe you should. Hey, Grace! Hi! Yeah, you should stage down and a palette intervention. I know I have a friend who paints, and their mom is also a painter, a watercolorist, and they are also really, really, like, not stuck, but they still really only vouch by Winsor & Newton, and that's why it kind of makes me laugh, because it feels like it's this this thing that dates back to before there were perhaps other brands available as easily. And it's like a leftover of before. So this is Sennelier Yellow Deep. And there's a cat here because who's surprised? I am not. Pickle was literally just here. That's not a pickle here, but that's a scout. Dark fur. I wonder if the ultraviolet rays break down the molecular bonds of the pigment particle and that causes the fading. I don't know. That's some pretty big eyes. Violets have generally really bad light fastness readings. Cobalt, I think, is fairly safe because basically, like, it's kind of weird in the sense that generally granulating colors are fairly color fast and light fast. But yeah, it's not at all as intense as dioxazine. So, oh, so that's a mix. Sennelier Yellow Deep is a mix of PY83 and PY153. Otto says, like, literally people telling me they are sad that I don't like Winsor & Newton. I've been surprised by how many people find it upsetting that I didn't like Winsor & Newton. I find it weird too, because I mean, whatever happened to preferences, you know? This is cadmium yellow orange. I'm not a fan of Winsor & Newton in general. I find their Cutman range offensive. Sorry. I just find it really sad. And I like some of their colors, but they have other colors that I find utterly boring and not fun to use. They tend to have really hard to re-wet colors in general. Like their ultramarine dries so hard. Cadmium yellow orange is literally a mix of cadmium yellow and cadmium orange, so PY35 and PO20. Yeah, I agree. Why is it upsetting? Like, a lot of people don't like Holbein, and it might bother me depending on their reason, but in the end, I mean, it's a matter of tastes. If they don't like Holbein, I hope they will simply not use them and use something they prefer instead of still use Holbein and be unhappy. This color is named Red Orange. These re-wet so well. It is so easy to re-wet them. Where's Paulo when we need him? Paulo really likes oranges. I think it's his favorite color. Red orange is PO43 and PY83. Thanks, Otto. Yeah, I like Winsor & Newton's Perylene Maroon is really lovely. Their Azo Green, I think it's the name, is also really, really nice. Like, I have a few colors of them that I really like, but their Sap Green is really hard to re-wet. The Ultramarine Blue is also insanely hard to re-wet. Burnt Sienna. Like, these are colors that are often used a lot. And I don't want to spend my time scrubbing my palette because I'm unable to get the pigmentation I want. But, I mean, the Perylene Maroon is really lovely and it re-wets super well and I don't have issues with it. So, I don't know. Next color is Sennelier Orange. See, that's one time when my brain was like, Sennelier Orange. But then I was like, no, you have to say the second part in English, and that did not compute. I love this one. I love this orange color, like this one, that has a mass tone that is really orange, but when you add water in it, it becomes pinkish. It's really nice to create effects in the sky or in shadows. It's PO73. Okay, so since we are swatching Sennelier, there's the thing I want to talk about Sennelier, which I find kind of weird, because these paints are really touted for being like the botanical artist paints that you can glaze and layer them, and they are glowy and transparent and lovely. They are all semi-transparent at best, well, so far. And I just find it so weird because everyone is always like, they are so transparent, they are so glowy, and I'm like, Well, they do layer well, and they are really lovely bright colors, but they're definitely not transparent. Like, this is not what I call transparent when there is a deposit on the black line. That's not, by definition, that's not transparent. So maybe they use them more diluted. Could be a thing. I mean, and I'm not saying that it's bad or anything. I'm just saying that it has always confused me. Chinese orange is PY 150, PR 209, and PBR 23. Do you want me to say the name in French? That could be funny. Since this is Sennelier and it's a French brand, actually, I could be naming them in French. So we have Blanc de Titane, Blanc de Chine, Jaune de Nickel, Jaune Citron, Auréoline, Jaune Cadmium Citron Véritable, Jaune Primaire, Jaune Cadmium Foncé Véritable, Jaune Sennelier Foncé, Jaune Cadmium Orange Véritable. See, red orange in French is Orange de Saturne, so like Saturn orange, if I were to translate it. This is Orange Sennelier, Orangé de Chine, and next one is French Vermilion or Rouge Vermilion Français. Where do you buy this tiny blue tape? Amazon. Hey, it's a Kaboo, hi. What would you like to hear every stream? Lana. Okay, French Vermilion. PR 242 for this color. I don't know why I was under the impression that it was a multi-pigment color, but it's not. Okay, next we have Alizarin Crimson Lake, or in French, Lac Alizarin Cramoisi. Such a cute name. No, it's not. Cramoisi is a really weird word because it has this part, the moisi part, which in French is like rotten. When we say that something is moisi, it's because it's rotten. So it's kind of weird to have a color that is called cramoisi. Reading colors in French. Alizarin Crimson Lake is the genuine pigment. Oh, I'm not exactly in frame. Okay, PR 83. Cajun French, that's gotta be quite something. I mean, I'm French Canadian, so I don't speak really nice posh French. I speak more like lumberjack French. Okay, Venetian Red. So PR 11, I guess. It's kind of weird that they put this one up here rather than with the earth tones. In French, it's Rouge Venise. That one is definitely an opaque color. next color is alizarin crimson. So, oh, that's funny. Okay, so we have alizarin crimson lake in English and alizarin crimson, and in French, the alizarin crimson lake is lac alizarin cramoisi, I guess, because they sort of shortened it. But and the other one here, the one that is supposedly just alizarin crimson, is called Lac de Garance Foncé, which would be something like Mather Lake Deep. Oh, this one is a mix of 3 pigments. PR209, PY83, and PR179. This is so cool. Thank you so much, Otto, for providing the pigments in the chat. I will, as for my chart, I will have this, you know, I do the tracing paper with the pigments on top, but I haven't done it yet because this is not dry. And there's again this line that is from the paper ripping off. Lumberjack French. I didn't know that Denise was doing a Venetian red color spotlight. Okay, next one. Carmine. I think that's going to be the same word in French. Carmine. It's rouge carmin. So it's basically like carmine red. Carmine? I don't know anymore. I lost it. Okay, so next we have Crimson Lake. Wow, I'm not impressed by the English names. Alizarin Crimson Lake. So here we have Alizarin Crimson, and here we have Crimson Lake. I mean, it's gonna be super confusing to buy a tube if you don't exactly remember the name. In French, it's Lac Carminé, which is not exactly quite awesome. It's kind of lame. It's PV19. Carmine was PV19. It has a look of a PV19, doesn't it? So this Crimson Lake. Crimson Lake is also 3 pigments. It is PR209, PR146, and PR26. Is Carmine the one from Bugs? The genuine one, yes. Like if you buy the Lutea colors, the Carmine red is made from the Bugs. But this one is not made from Bugs. It would be too expensive. Next one is quinacridone red, and this one is translated fairly literally rouge quinacridone. Quinacridone is somehow easier to say in English than in French. prefer pigments from plants and stone matter. Thank you very much. This one is PR209, the Queen Red. I think it's like coral red in other brands, this pigment. Oh well. I think there's something really fascinating about the origin of colors back before we had chemistry to help making some colors more available. Like purple that was made from, what was it? Was it like a seashell or a bug or something? And it took like an insane amount of the poor animal to create just a bit of the dye, which is why it was reserved for nobility and monarchy and all that. So there's something really interesting about all of that. Like there's a white, I think the traditional white Chinese paint and possibly traditional Japanese white paint is made from seashell, and it's kind of a really complex process as well. It's a bit like lapis lazuli, you know, but instead of being a rare mineral that you have to process a lot to get the pure color, it's unfortunately a bug or a shellfish or, or something else. I think that's fascinating. Okay, next color is Rose Madder Lake. So Lac de Garance Rose. Yeah. Wow, that's some really legit magenta color there. I was working on a video last week, and it sort of really highlight. Anyway, it really showed me how much Sennelier in general is awful at picking up a good selection of colors for a limited color set. I was looking at one set of 6 colors and one set of 5, and I was like, well, these are interesting if you want to work with a limited palette, but as an introduction set, they're kind of terrible. They're really, really bad. And I was like, why? And I remembered the set of 14 that I reviewed some time ago that also was kind of a terrible selection. Yeah, the Murex dye. Murex was... That was like a tiny shellfish, right? Like, I'm not saying I would want any because it's probably super expensive, but it's the history of colors, as I love colors so much, is fascinating. I love knowing this stuff and seeing. It's kind of why I decided to make my own paints. Is I love seeing the process and all the steps. And there's a really interesting video on YouTube where they show the full process of making pure blue lapis lazuli paint, and it's fascinating. And you can see why it's like $1 billion for a small pan, because wow, the process is insane. So I find it fascinating. Like, same thing with the lutea paints that are made from plants and shellfish, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Oh yeah, okay, so Murex is a tiny shellfish. And you don't fight in the chat, guys. I think there's a bit of I think I could be talking out of my butt here, but I think that a lot of people kind of don't really know what it takes to get a doctorate, like to have those DR letters. Because I know that I don't really know, and I would know even less if I didn't know Otto and have spoken about it a bit with Otto, because my curriculum of learning never took me that far. I am not I didn't go too far in school, in the sense that what I wanted to learn I could learn with some kind of special college type of learning. It's kind of weird because it's French Canadian schools are kind of weird, but yeah, so I never got to a level where I had to do a back or a master's or, you know, all this stuff, and I'm just like, for me, this is a really obscure world of letters that I don't really understand. Oh, it's okay, you made up, yay! Yay! Yeah, it's kind of hard to grasp context in chat, but I'm glad you guys are okay. Relief. But yeah, like I am really not far in terms of schooling. I don't have any letters to my name, if I can say that. So it's kind of really fascinating to see the process and to learn about it and to see how much work it demands. And I mean, we used to make fun of one of our teachers because she had a doctorate in sculpture. It was kind of, we made fun because, I mean, we're a bunch of stupid kids, and the DR you see most often is like medical doctors. So it was kind of weird to imagine our teacher being a doctor of sculpture. She was kind of a weird teacher too, so that was just a weird situation, but seeing more people with a doctorate and learning more about it is really interesting. That was my rambling, and that was Diaxis in Purple. The PV23, one of the nicest colors in my opinion, because it is so dark, so intense, and so like true. You can really get a lot done with the color that is almost black at full strength and really nicely violet when you dilute it. This is Sennelier. It's a dot card that was handmade by Otto, and yeah, it was kind of I tried to see if it was possible to make some kind of dot card with Sennelier. And it's not easy because those paints are made with honey, and honey is sticky. Okay, this is Prussian blue, another color that I really, really love. That is sadly not light fast, and also kind of toxic to fishes, I think, which is a bummer. Not that it's something we have to concern ourselves a lot, because I don't think that painting puts a lot of it in the water, but it's always something to keep in mind. Like, I feel bad when I mold this color, because what I end up having to wash off my glass marble, my glass muller and all that is kind of more than when you throw away your rinse water. Sorry, that's PB27. Oh no, don't start fighting. I will cry. It's not gonna be a fun breakage, it's gonna be a sad breakage. If it looks too blue, that could just be the camera. Also, remember guys that there's like cameras and screens and conversion of colors and stuff going on, so colors might not be exactly like when you have them in front of you. Next one is Indigo. I'm super curious about this one. I don't think I have it. Or do I? Ooh, it's nice and dark. Oh, I forgot to translate the names of the last few colors. Hold on. Gotta check that out once I'm done painting this swatch. So it's a mix of 3 colors. It's PB60, PB15 colon 1, and PBK7. No breakage through hostility, please. That's a good way to put it. Okay, so let's have fun with the French names. So dioxazine purple is quite literally pourpre dioxazine. What a mouthful. Prussian blue is also quite literally bleu de Prusse. And indigo is bleu indigo. So that was boring. Not exactly interesting. Okay. I think it's always like really weird because there are some disciplines that perhaps really make like thorough learning, and I hope I won't be like tripping my words or using the wrong words too much, but like further learning I think is feels more kind of a useful thing when you come to stuff like perhaps medicine, where there is a lot of material to learn, and like any kind of science like computer science and physics, or I don't know, you know, all this stuff that has a lot of like hard knowledge. And I think it feels weird when you are more from a practical field like art, because art is basically more about doing than knowing in a way. So it's just kind of a different way of acquiring the stuff you need to know to do the thing. So it's just kind of weird. I don't know what I could study as intensely as I've seen people do in doctorates and keep it to arts. Would it have to be like super thorough knowledge of like past painters, or like the art knowledge about techniques? Like what would it have to be about? That's what I'm kind of not sure. Okay, so that was Bleu Indifferent, Bleu d'Indifferent. Super boring. Hey, Paulo, you missed all the oranges. But you can see them now, they are all nice and dry. No, it just has to be a very specific piece of information that hasn't been done yet. Oh. That makes me curious what hypothetical me could have pursued as a doctorate. That's kind of interesting. Back then I don't think I would have known, because I was quite literally not super knowledgeable in arts. Now I think I would have to find a way to make it about the making of the colors happening, like paint making. So this is Cobalt Deep. I love the cobalt colors. I love how they granulate. I think it's always fairly interesting, and they look so good in mixes. That's so pretty. The biggest error PhD students make is try to cover too much. Cobalt Deep PB72. I forgot to say, but this one was PB 60. And you have to make your PhD about something that is new in a way. So how do you know what has been done before? Otto says, mine was an automating typing error categorization method. Wow. Next one, Cobalt Blue, is PB28. Otto is faster than me. Okay, I'm back to painting the swatches. It was fun earlier on because I was talking watercolor a bit with Mr. E. Mr. E doesn't really used like analog methods of coloring. He uses mostly computer. So it's interesting to have him ask questions about this. My goal is to convert him to painting one day. You spend your first year learning about what has been done before, then you figure out what you can add to that knowledge. Ah, that's so cool. Yay, thanks for all the information, Otto. I hope you don't mind. If you want to talk about something else, we can always talk about something else. But it's really interesting. And it was never really something that was sort of what's what I'm looking for. Like throughout my process of trying to decide what I wanted to learn about or what kind of school I wanted to go, it was never really put forth that I could do like a master's or a PhD or like it. Not that it wasn't an option, but in a way it wasn't an option. So I never really considered it. I always felt like it was something you did if you wanted to be a doctor or a physicist or like serious stuff, not arts. You know what I mean? Okay, color names. Cobalt Deep, Cobalt Blue, Ultramarine Deep. This one is fairly sure it's PB29. This Ultramarine Deep is my favorite ultramarine of all the paints. It's the only one I kind of put in my palettes if I can, because it is easy to wet, really intense, nice strength, and it granulates nicely as well. So in French, these are going to be quite boring, but Bleu Cobalt Foncé. So this is literally like Cobalt Blue Deep. This one is Bleu Cobalt Véritable. So in English that would be like Cobalt Blue Genuine. And this is Bleu Ultramer Foncé. So Ultramarine Blue Deep. This is Sennelier. I am swatching the dot card that Otto had sent me ages ago. Because I am kind of I have a long to-do list. Okay, next one is Cerulean Blue Red Shade. This is usually a really nicely granulating color as well, so I will try. I am not using cotton paper for the swatches, and I mean its advantage is that it's affordable, but it's also not the prettiest texture for the colors to be put on. It's harder to see granulation on cellulose paper. Sorry, I missed one thing, but Otto says, because the PhD process I think is deeply misunderstood. I think it is deeply misunderstood. I know someone doing a PhD in jewelry making. Cool. Really cool. So I can see why my my teacher had a PhD in sculpture, but still at the time it was kind of funny because like it would have been less weird if the teacher had been one I actually appreciated and connected with. Instead she was kind of a there was kind of a disconnect. I can ramble about the more about that if you want more rambles. I'm good at rambling, right? Okay, this one was PB28, the Cerulean Blue Red Shade. It's really nice. This one, turquoise green. This is good. This is a good one. I love this one. I need to get the granulation in this one on the paper because it is so pretty. Yeah, it does tend to separate from the binder a lot because it's a heavier pigment, so it settles at the bottom of the tube, but it is so pretty. I love it so much. PG50. It is such a pretty color. Okay, so I will actually ramble on about the teacher because no one is stopping me, right? the way the classes were sort of structured, when I was studying cartoon animation, we had teachers that were from the department of cartoon animation, so they all had experience in the industry and the work of cartoon animation. But we also had some kind of connected classes that were usually given by I don't know what it's called in English, but like the regular art teachers that offer the regular arts program. Like in French it's called des arts plastiques, but it's basically just arting for 2 or 3 years depending. So like you paint, you do whatever. And we had like this extra formation, extra classes done by these teachers. And they would usually kind of be disconnected a bit with what we actually need to learn to make this useful for animation. So that was why it was hard connecting with that sculpture doctor teacher, because she would not really tailor her classes to make them the most useful to us. So it would always feel like a big waste of time to do the stuff she would ask us to do, and more often than not you could take shortcuts to make the work faster, even if you were not doing exactly as she was saying, and you would get better notes, better score for that. So that's the whole setup with that teacher. And there was also one time that was kind of hilarious. It was the end of the term and we still had to be graded on the project, and she didn't warn the janitor that we were done with our sculpting projects. So we get to class that morning, really at the last few days of that semester, just before the Christmas holidays, and we get into classroom, and the janitor is actually throwing out all the projects on the shelves, like smushing them in the garbage bin, not a care in the world, just like cleaning this stuff up. And we get in there and we're like, oh, well, I guess that's it then. And the teacher gets in a bit late in class, and she's like, outraged, completely like angry that the janitor is just doing his job because he didn't receive any notice that he had to keep these there. So that was kind of funny. It's like all this work we spend into making this ugly ass sculpture is literally going down the garbage. Hey Paula, hi. Yeah, that was kind of really funny. It was, it's kind of funny that basically you can't do anything, and it's not like the projects were great. I mean, instead of making perhaps the act of sculpting something in 3D useful to the work in an animator and the way an animator has to think about objects in 3D, she would like make us do like a face and focus on placing the muscles on there, and we're like, this is useful if you do like portraiture or sculpture, not exactly if you do animation. Not at the level we're at. We're noobs. We're not really good. So learning badly this level of detailed stuff is not super useful. So yeah, the fact that they tossed all the projects in the garbage was really funny. This is cobalt green, also a really lovely granulating color. It's PB36. That chart is Sennelier. It's the full Sennelier range, and it was made by Otto quite some time ago. And it turns out that it's really difficult to make a Sennelier dot card because the paints, they don't dry super user friendly because of all the honey in them. This color is so intense. If you want to see more about this lovely color, I highly recommend going to check Otto's super thorough comparison of phthalo turquoise color. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure Sennelier was in there. Phthalo cyanine turquoise PB15 column 3 and PG7. I'm gonna finish the row and then we will check the names in French. So that way, if I keep forgetting about after each of them, it's kind of not that bad. Next color is forest green. You should put the link. Put the link to your really, what do you call it? The colossal color comparison. Ah, forest green. Can I eat this color? I want to eat it. I want to eat it. Forest green is PBK7, PG7, and PY42. That's a good one, that's funny. Yeah, I did I did two sort of college kind of programs that are for 3 years. It's basically the way schools work around here is you have primary school, then high school, and then you have college. And the way you can go about college is you can take a class that is 2 years, and that is sort of just another step before going to university. Or you can take a class that's 3 years, and that at the end of it, you don't necessarily have to go to university, you get a diploma that you are trained in a certain technical profession. I did 2 classes of 3 years. I did one in graphic design, and I did one in cartoon animation. So I saw all kinds of weird stuff from the arts department, because all in all, I spent like 6 years near the art kids, and yeah, it was kind of funny. So this is phthalo green deep. I always want to say phthalo green dirt. That one here is forest green. That's phthalo green deep. The last one of this row is viridian green. I wonder if it's the genuine viridian. It's kind of hard to re-wet, so maybe. This color, when you buy it like from Daniel Smith or Winsor & Newton, is a brick. It dries to a nugget. You basically can't re-wet well. So this is actually fairly good for a viridian green color. Or either that, or it's not the genuine stuff and it's PG7 and it's really easy to wet. But the genuine stuff is granulating and kind of really nice. So it's PG18 and PG7, so a bit of both, I guess. Oh, phthalo green deep is a blue and a green pigment actually. PB15 column 3 and PG7. Okay, you're gonna have to tell us all the weird stuff from the art department. I will only if everyone is a legal adult in the chat. Because yes, it's that kind of nonsense. Okay, French names. So this one in English is cerulean blue red shade, and in French it is bleu ceruleum nuance rouge. So it's literally the same. is turquoise green, vert turquoise, the same. Cobalt green, vert de cobalt, same thing. Phthalo turquoise, turquoise de phthalo, même chose. Forest green is vert sapin, so it's more like fear green than forest. Kind of like vert sapin, it's cute. Phthalo green deep, it's vert anglais foncé, so English green deep. Viridian green in French is vert émeraude véritable, so emerald green genuine. That's weird. Are we all legal adults here? Not like Viridian, talk about the derpy green. I like it fresh from the tube. It's really nice. It's kind of a more muted colors and it's really lovely, but dry, it's a nightmare. It's really not fun to use. Trying to fit everything. Okay, I have a bit of room. Viridian hue from Holbein, I think it's just PG7, isn't it? Is it kind of a granulating PG7? Okay, so I can start on the weird art department stuff that is kind of more more PG. Well, not that it's really raunchy, but it's mostly just lame. There was the art student. The first 3 years class I did, the art student really had a bad rap because they all had this kind of big artiste with the beret and the instead of clapping and all that stuff. They really felt into that stupid what's the word, cliche. And we shared some locals with them, like, because we had a few classes that were just regular art, like how to paint stuff. And we would sometimes find their projects still in the class, like they left them there because no one is gonna do anything to them anyway. One of the projects was a really big canvas, like good size canvas, all painted gray, like a kind of a neutral gray, not any peculiar effects or anything, like just gray. And the student had glued a slice of bread right in the middle of the canvas. That was art. Okay, this olive green is PY 150, PG 36, and PBR 23. It is beautiful. Yeah, legality, not maturity. Okay, another great, beautiful art piece that I remember seeing is it was set on a wooden plank, maybe about 13 by 19, that kind of size. Well, not huge, but. And the student had put 2 toilet paper rolls on the plank, and he had, or she had, covered the entire setup with a layer of brown wax. Art. Really artistic stuff. Thorough. Mind-blowing. So yeah, since we were like studying to be graphic designer, and it was kind of a really serious thing, and really you don't have time to arse around a lot. Like you have to, you're busy, you have stuff to do, you have deadlines, you have an insane amount of work. So it will sort of really make the things from the artsy kid even more funny, because I was like, if you have time to cover up like toilet paper rolls and wax, what is going on? What are you doing? Yeah. When people bring their PB&J, you would find artsy kids in their PGs like all the time, like, because they have to be so expressive, you know. I mean, I'm making jokes. People can be whatever they want to be, but it was always kind of jarring to be sleep deprived, to school from like before 8 in the morning and leave at night when the school closes just to hit deadlines, and to see these kids like on MSN Messenger, the computers. There was all kinds of nonsense going on, and we would get so driven and focused that we would sort of lose our politeness towards these kids, because if they were using our computers that are made to deal with the difficulty of the softwares for animation, we would just tell them to GTFO. Get the F out. And yeah, that was kind of something. Tele green light here is PG7 and PY153, so a green and a yellow. Two toilet paper rolls and then a plunger in between. No, because you have to understand that I'm fairly sure this student had nothing planned, and they ransacked some paper rolls from somewhere in the school and made art happen. Another great one. Another cult one, maybe? Anyway, this guy had sort of structured up a bunch of 2x4s to create a giant phallus, and he had covered the thing up, or like wrapped. It was big. It was way taller than me, and like really kind of perhaps this round. And he had sort of covered it up in the kind of bluish sort of medical looking fabric thing. So that was one part of his art setup. The other part was to set this this thing in a corner somewhere and use electric tape to draw the shape that, like a man on the wall and the floor, and place his wooden phallus at the proper spot. Kawaii with crafts. Yeah, the inter-school rivalries. It was a really fun time. Like, something happened once. That was not that graphic design class. That was the animation class. But it was like hilarious because, like I said, we had really specific setup because we needed a special scanner to scan all the drawings for animation. So that was on a special station, a special computer in a computer room that was only for scanning. There could be like a list of people who needed to scan, and you would put your name, and like it would go through the list and people would go and scan their work. That was the setup for that. And at some point we were quite probably near a deadline or end of terms, which means just more deadlines. And there was a non-animation student on the scanning machine, but Mr. E didn't know, and he was sitting like the student was like behind him, but he didn't know they were there. He was doing his work on the computer, and he started on a huge rant about how these people from like non-animation departments would just like come in here and log onto the computers and use them as if they were library computers, like to chat and check emails, and we would all see the scene going on, but everyone was transfixed because that was a good rant, and it was also insanely true because these kids, I mean, they could go to the library if they wanted a computer. This was not the place for computers. And eventually the art kid left, but it was such an art kid, like pajamas. He had or she, I don't remember, but they had a kind of a blanket as a cape. Anyway, and it was hilarious, and everybody was like not saying a thing because it was magnificent. I'm proud of him. I'm so proud of him. The mummified body of what? Okay. Otto says, the first university I was at, I had to walk past the mummified body of the founder. That is so weird. Okay, I think I missed the bright yellow green. It's PG7 and PY3, and brown green is PY129. That's a lovely color. And I can see why it's brown green, you know, it kind of looks like a mix of brown and green, so that's okay. Brown pink is possibly more confusing. Another fun thing that happened in graphic design is that when I did graphic design, I was just out of high school, so perhaps a bit younger when I did animation, and like most of the people in the class were my age, so all relatively young people. And there was a group of guys who would always sort of draw phalluses on the blackboards. It just was a thing, like they would find play on words, puns, and they would draw like they would do like a rooster that was like part rooster, part phallus, because it's a cock, it's the bird, ha ha ha, you know what I mean? And they would usually be good about erasing their stuff before classes would start in these rooms. But there was one time that they didn't have time to, or like they just pulled down the screen thingy to hide the drawings, and we had an like someone who came over to give us kind of a lecture, and the person starts using the blackboard and starts running out of place, and they pull up the screen, and we all froze because there under the screen on the blackboard was something really quite obviously phallus. So we all like, oh no. And either they were like awesome actors, or they really never realized what was going on, but they continued their lecture going around the art that was already there, not really noticing or saying anything about it. But the teachers afterwards, they were like, okay guys, if you do this stuff, not me, but the dudes that would draw the phalluses everywhere, but they really got kind of a sit down with the teacher and said, if you are to do this stuff, erase them, okay? This is not acceptable. And yeah, that was funny. Sorry. Brown pink, PY150, PG7, PBR23, celery green. Actually, yeah, that would have been a good name for it. Like, it's like cooked celery. Oh, yeah. Next color is French ochre. Looks kind of really green, which is kind of weird. I think we're gonna have a blast with the French names for this row because I know a few of them are quite obscure. I think they refer to older pigment color name, like pigment sources, and they were kept. Oh wow, okay, that's a mouthful, a lot of pigments. So this one is PY3, PY150, PBR23, and PBR7. But it's just anatomy, what's wrong with that? Well, nothing's wrong with it, but it's not exactly like proper. That was not the theme of the lecture, you know? Our last color here is light yellow ochre. think my favorite class that I had in both these programs was the art history classes. Whether it was art, like history of animation, or just art history on its own, it was always really, really interesting. Okay, French names. Olive green is quite literally vert olive. Phthalo green light is vert anglais clair, so light English green. Bright yellow green, vert jaune brillant. It's literally the same. Okay, this is where it gets really weird. Brown green is style de grain vert. So it's this style de grain pigment that I think I have a jar of it from Kremer, and it was, I think it's made from buckthorn berries, I think. And I guess that these colors are similar to this pigment that, since it was made from a plant, is possibly not light fast at all. So yeah, so that one is still the grain vert for the brown green, and brown pink is still the grain brun. So I don't know what the pink. Why? None of the pigments in here are pink anyway. Like, it doesn't have like PV19 in it or something. Chicken fishnets. That's really funny. Okay, French ochre is pierre de fiel. I don't even know. It's like stone of something. I don't know what fiel is. And light yellow ochre is ocre jaune clair, so literally the same thing. And this one is PY42 and PY150. Last row. Can you see it? Hopefully you can see it. Pink is rose. So brown pink is brun rose. Literally. Maybe it is. Maybe pink was used in another meaning. Okay, neutral tint is our next color. PB60, PBK7, and PR209. So 3 pigments for this one, including a black pigment, a blue pigment, and a red pigment. Oops, and I sprinkled some of it all over the place. Great job, me. Making a mess. Okay. Seems to be a really nice neutral tint. Is there a Potter's Pink on the dot card swatches? I don't know if... I don't think Sennelier has a Potter's Pink. I would love to see them do this color. Okay, next color is Van Dyke Brown. It looks really red for a Van Dyke Brown, I gotta say. I am not used to it being this kind of hue. PBK7 and PR101. Hey, good night, Z. I hope you have sweet dreams about colors. Okay, next one, warm sepia. this warm sepia color is PBR7 and PBK7. This is more like the kind of color I usually see for Van Dyke Brown, personally, in my other swatches. Next, Raw Umber. I hope this one is PBR7. I'm always bummed when the earth tones are like mixes of colors, because I mean, these are the most easy to acquire colors, so I always feel weird when they don't go for their standard pigments. PBR7. Yes. Warm sepia showed sepia. We'll see. I wonder if it's gonna be something like hot sepia. Raw sienna. So, oddly hard to wet. This one is usually PI43. It's usually a yellow pigment. Nope, it's also a brown pigment, this one. PBR7. Huh. Interesting. I think it was in the chat that someone recommended pressing the hashtag button on the phone when spam callers call. But I did that the other day and it was really satisfying, so thanks for the tip. Okay, burnt umber. It is really red for a burnt umber, I think. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Give me more pigment, more! Okay. They're kind of really low tinting colors, which is a bit of a bummer. I guess it's useful when you glaze a lot, maybe. PBR7 also. So far, Winsor Newton Potter's Pink is my favorite. Other makers of Potter's Pink are hard to wet. Potter's Pink will always be hard to wet because it's the pigment's fault. The only Potter's Pink that I've seen that are easy to wet is the handmade ones. So Otto has made one, I have made one, and usually we can sort of tweak the recipe to make them a bit easier to wet. But aside from that, I think the Renaissance one is also decent because it has a honey formula, but it's definitely one of the pigments that is preferable to keep in the tube and you pour it fresh when you need it. The transparent brown is our last color here. It's really nice and rich, this one. PBK7 and PR101. That's pretty much what it looks like. Okay, so French names. Fun. Neutral tint is teint neutre, so literally the same. Van Dyke Brown, Brun Van Dyke, same thing. Warm sepia is sepia coloré, so something like colored sepia instead of hot sepia. Raw umber is terre ombre naturelle, which is literally the translation of the name. Raw sienna is terre de sienne naturelle, so same thing. Burnt umber, is terre ombre brûlée, so literally the same, and that's interesting. Transparent brown is translated to bitume, which is something like tarmac. Like it's the asphalt. Bitume. Huh. Okay. So before switching to the next one, I will go rinse my water and get some clean one, because that's some nice swamp juice going on here. Oh no! Okay, be right back. Did you guys hear me offering some swamp juice to Mr. E? Oh no, Heather! The drifter didn't get added to the list of cat getting a little possibly neutered today. No! No. You heard me offer un verre de jus de swamp à Mr. E. Canadian French is kind of a mix of French and English, so I will use swamp in my French speaking instead of whatever the word is in French. So. Just want to drink this before it gets even colder than it is right now. And we are back over to the yellows here with cadmium yellow light. It's PY35, which is again standard pigment for cadmium yellow colors. Then we have Sennelier yellow light. There's a lot of tiny hairs in my brush. must have shuffled or ruffled some thick hairs from earlier. That one is PY153. They're fairly similar in color, right? I don't see much of a difference between both of these. Aww. Drifter is the most adorable kitty. The story about Drifter is it's a cat who recently, it's a big orange cat, and he recently decided that Heather was his human. He really went like, you know what? You're my human now. I like you. And look at me, I am so cute. Look at me flip on my back and purr and be like all adorable and curling the paws in happiness. It's kind of really hard to say no to a kitty like that. But then again, with every great kitty comes great responsibilities. And Drifter is no exception. So that was Indian Yellow. It's a mix of two pigments, PY154 and PY153. And I think I said this one, right? PY143. Yeah, I think I did. Next one is Yellow Lake. I was really surprised when I saw the dot, and now I'm realizing that it's probably just PY150. Because I was like, ooh, this color, this dot is so dark. I wonder what the color will be like. But I just realized that it's fairly similar to all the PY150 colors I've seen. Yep, it is PY150. Oh yeah, Drifter is a cat. I find it really funny how stray cats will... Some feral cats will forever stay feral, but some other will suddenly choose a human, and it's like, nope, you are my human. I have chosen you, I love you, look at me. My survival depends upon you. This is how evolution has shaped me. Bring me in, please. Feed me. Look at me, I am cute. Yeah, that's the thing. Like initially, Drifter would have kept him drifting if it wasn't for the fact that Heather's neighbor has some really mean dogs, and it's not their fault. They've been not trained properly, so they have all sorts of behavioral problem. But the thing is that still, if you see a cat that like is hiding and feels threatened by the dog, and someone comes out to see you to be like, hey, can you sort of help me here? I don't want to be eaten by the big dog over there. That looks really, really hungry. So yeah, that's kind of a tough situation. Naples Yellow, which is really, really yellow. It is a mix of PY35, PW6, and PW4. That's interesting. It's basically cadmium yellow and R2 whites from earlier. Next color is Yellow Sophie. It's weird because I have an aunt that is named Sophie. So I sort of have a brain short circuit when I see the name in English. Like, that's not how do you say what? It is PY93. Otto says, I asked Sennelier who the Sophie in this name is, but they never replied. I've never managed to get Sennelier to reply. Huh. Yeah, I agree. Heather, if you hadn't been there, the dog would have probably gone to chase the cat, and the cat would have had to find a place to hide that is not accessible to the dog to be safe. But like from what I've seen of Drifter the cat, he really doesn't seem to be any kind of a fighter. More the other way. Like he seems like a really mellow and cuddly guy. So it's kind of a weird situation because we've talked about it on the dealership, but still, I'm glad that you were there to prevent him being possibly wounded by this dog. This is Naples Yellow Deep. It is much deeper than the Naples Yellow that we saw a few moments ago. It is PBR 24. I love this pigment, and I'm glad that their Naples Yellow Deep is this pigment. Okay, time to play. Let's see what we have here. So, cadmium yellow light is jaune cadmium clair véritable. It's kind of funny because with all their cadmium colors in French, they put this word véritable at the end, and it's basically genuine. So they're saying that all their cadmium colors are genuine. But in you don't really have to specify this usually if you don't use the word hue. If you use hue, it's gonna be like a fake version, and if you don't use hue, it's gonna be the genuine stuff. Then we have Sennelier Yellow Light, which is quite literally jaune Sennelier clair. Oh, okay, this is interesting. Indian yellow is translated to gomme gut, which is usually what they translate gamboge to. Like New Gamboge is generally gomme gut. So that's interesting. Yellow Lake is lac jaune, so literally the same. Naples Yellow is jaune de Naples. Same thing. Yellow Sophie is jaune Sophie. And Naples Yellow Deep is jaune marc foncé. So these are all quite literally the same, except for the Indian Yellow. Hey Zoe, it's been some time. Is that like verified? No, it's véritable is really like genuine. Like it means it's the genuine article. It is not a fake. It is the real thing. Okay, next up is Scarlet Lacquer. I really like warm yellows. No, sorry, warm reds. Come on, brain. Yes, I am swatching Sennelier. Have they? Why would Kremer stop selling 100 packs of empty half pans? That's so weird because it's definitely like their shop is about making paints. So maybe they have stock issues. You know how Kremer is sometimes when they have like weird stock of certain things, they can be like different on the shop. Maybe it will come back someday. Scarlet Lacquer here is PR 188. Next we have, oh I love this one, Rose Doré Madder Lake. I love this color. It's really nice warm red that is not the most strong in its tinting strength even at full mass tone, but it is really lovely. It becomes this kind of salmon color when you dilute it down. Really love it. PR255. Oh, I've never really ordered from Kremer for the pans because the shipping fee for me to order from Kremer in the US is more expensive than when I order pans from Jackson's in the UK. But I'm really bummed that they stopped selling a bundle of 100 pans. Okay, next color is bright red. NR, I think it's the French. Let me check. NR, it's because they didn't translate it. It's, well, maybe it's the same in English. But it says that it's not listed. The NR refers to the French non répertorié, which translates to not listed. I don't know why they don't have a pigment. Wrong color. Good job, me. I don't know why they don't have a pigment name or number for the bright red, because I mean, if they use the pigment, it's gotta have a name. It's not magic, but yeah. Well, it's fine. How? Yeah, exactly. How do they not have the pigment code? Or why is it not listed instead of like waiting for a number? You know, because I mean, it's gonna require some kind of to be part of the system. Okay, cadmium red light. So let's try and guess the pigment. PR108. Did I get it? Did I get it? Sorry. Question. Speaking of Kremer, I'm eyeing their basic set. 14 full pans, $80 as a reward for a big goals. Worthy set. Anybody have and use this one? I don't have it. I have a friend who have it. And I think Teoichi has made a video about it if you want to see it more in action. It has some colors that I really like, but it's kind of a weird set in the sense that it's not the most super strong colors in there. There are quite a lot of muted colors, and there are a lot of opaque and granulating colors. So if you want to paint portraiture, if you want to paint something in a more realistic way, you might find that the semi-opaque nature and the granulation of some of the colors is not going to be helpful, because you don't really necessarily want all that granulation in your face. It is a really good deal in terms of price and number of pans and all of that, but make sure that the colors and their characteristics are something you are using or will use, because you might find out that it's not exactly a good match for you. Theo did the mixing chart, and the resulting mixes are really all fairly muted. And I don't want to say dull, but they don't have the vibrancy of like other mixes I've seen. So yes, okay, this one is really PR108. Then we have Sennelier red. Oh yeah, NR. Oh, that's a good point. It could be a natural red, but they say on the Sennelier chart, I keep saying chart, that it's for not listed. At least in French they say that it's for not listed. I don't know why in English they kept it NR if it's not. This is some pretty bright red. Sennelier red. It's PR254. Are you for real, Heather? I didn't know that. She would have survived and was just getting daily dressing changes for the last open area. Is that the dog? Poor baby. I didn't know that. I'm really sorry. Oh, I hate crummy humans. Poor Dixie. Aww. Next color is Perlin Brown. They don't write Perlin with the E at the end, so it's more like Perlin. I don't want to be like really sad or down. I don't want to stretch this topic, but just want to say quickly that I'll never ever understand people who are mean to animals. That's like the line. That's where I draw the line. Humans are complex and not necessarily making sense, so that's what it is. But animals, yeah, there's no way that's gonna do it. Perlin Brown is, oddly enough, a mix of colors. It is PR209, PY83, and PR179. I would have thought they would go for one of the many Perlin pigments. Okay, Cad Red Purple, and I gotta show you, I got a postcard. I'm gonna show you the postcard. I love Cad Red Purple. I don't know why. It's kind of a weird, a bit dull red, but it's also really intense, and it's kind of a more natural red, perhaps. It's one of the, I think it's the only cadmium color that I own, aside from the Renaissance ones, because I got them all. And it is PR108. Paula, that's funny. Paula says, your suggestions for Christmas gifts must have been effective. Still waiting for Escoda 6 round to come back in stock. If only. Okay, quickly. I got this postcard, which I think is really awesome because it's the one from the Paper Gang subscription box. But it's you've got a lot of balls coming in here dressed like that, and it's 2 Christmas trees. And it's really funny. So this was sent by Lana. So thank you so much for the really fun postcard. And your writing and the ink you used is absolutely beautiful. Like, I don't want to show the message, but I don't know if you can see like this. This is my PO box, and like the ink and the handwriting is pretty nice. Aww. Yeah, I am thankful to everyone who takes on pets that have had past trauma, because that's not easy. But it would be even better if people could just be nicer to animals, perhaps. Like, they really don't ask for anything more than just the basics and a bit of love, so okay. French words. Scarlet lacquer is quite literally lac écarlate. Rose dorée Madder Lake is lac Garance rose dorée. Also quite a literal translation. This one is different. In English it's bright red, and in French we have Rouge Helios. Cadmium red light is Rouge Cadmium Clair Véritable, the same. Sennelier red is Rouge Sennelier, also the same. Perlin brown is Marron Péridène, the same. Like marron is a kind of a fancy word for brown. And cadmium red purple is Rouge Cadmium Pourpre Véritable. So also quite a literal translation. Yep, I agree. Otto says you feed them, you cuddle them, and you clean up their poo. They don't ask for much and give so much in return. Yeah. They don't, like, it's really, for me it's a different and simpler and perhaps easier to manage relationship than with humans, because humans, they have all sorts of intentions and morality and stuff that comes into play, while animals, it's basically just basic needs plus look I'm cute and fuzzy and you can pet me. So let me use my Sennelier Opera Rose here just to complete this set of swatches. This is quite a unique Opera Rose in my opinion, because it doesn't have the same ratio of the neon pigment to the magenta base than other Opera Roses I've seen. So it's kind of more magenta and less neon as far as opera colors go. Yeah, that's the same. Like, I had a cat, like my cat I had when I was a kid. You know, you can always, like, say when you're a kid you do something bad, then you get, I don't know what the word, but I'm just gonna say you get yelled at by your parents. Like, they reprimand you because you did something wrong, and you feel kind of hurt because you're learning and you're a kid, and you don't really have, like, you can always go through the pet to just like regain your calm and just calm down and feel better. Even if the pet is just like, I don't want to hug because it's a cat and cats are like that. I mean, you can semi-bully a cat into getting a hug and they will be okay with it. Especially if it's a cat that's used to being around kids. But with humans it's more complex. There are more issues and so this opera color is made from fluo pigment and PR 81 colon 1. Oh no! Oh no! Yeah, that's just the thing. I mean, cats perhaps require less training than a dog would, but a dog, if you are willing to give them the bit of training you need, once they are trained, they're set. I mean, it's fine, it's okay. Once you teach them like the rules of how to be a proper dog, they are super happy to oblige. The thing is that often you have dog owners that will not go through that lens. But you also find people who don't really give cats good habits, so blah. This was Cobalt Violet Light Hue. It's a mix of 3 pigments, PV16, PR122 and PW6. Hey, bye Grace, thank you so much for stopping by. It's been really nice to have you with us. Okay, this next one is Permanent Magenta. This is quite close to being quinacridone violet in my book. Like, this is not exactly a magenta color, is it? To me, that's not what magenta is about. Magenta is usually pinker than that. That's weird. It's PP19. What's up with that, Sennelier? I love your dogs, Heather. They are so well trained and nice. Like, I've had to deal with a lot of untrained dogs in my life, and it kind of it has made me scared of dogs in general. But like, when I see dogs that are calm and trained and just, you know, like, they have the structure they need and they respond well to it, I'm like really happy and I'm really fine with dogs then. But I've been like, I've seen weird dogs and I've been like semi-attacked by dogs a couple of times. This one is Cobalt Violet Deep Hue. It's basically just a bit more violety than the other one. It doesn't feel really deep. It is a mix of PR 122 and PV 16. No, but Daniel Smith's Queen Magenta is pretty violet too. It is. But it's not that violet though. Fairly sure it's not. The next color is Red Violet. I'm really excited for the Blue Violet. It's really one of my favorite colors in general, and not a lot of paint brands have a similar color. Red Violet is PV16. I thought it was a mix, but I'm really glad that it's PV16. Now we have Alias Purple. To me, that's... I would have called this Permanent Magenta, and this one Alias Purple, if it was just me. Because I feel like this is more like a magenta color. You know, when you think about the SMIC, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Like, this is more close to what I imagine being a magenta, like a basic color that you need to mix everything. This other one is not what I had in mind. So what's up with that, Cindy? What are you thinking? Oh, see, this one is PR 122. Yeah, that's a good magenta. That's a good one. Hey, Nancy, hi. Sorry. The thing is that I think like everyone who has, how can I say this? But I feel like dogs require training. Ideally, like often people will find reasons like, oh, it's just a small dog or whatever. But I think that the kind of structure that dogs like means that you need to train them. You need to show them stuff they can do, and that they can be told they do well, and they kind of thrived on this order and structure, because that's kind of the way their dog brains work, I think, as far as I can tell, because I am no dog specialist at all. And what I'm familiar with is cats, and cats, it's something completely different. But yeah, so I always feel kind of weird when people are like, hey, I want a dog and I'm not going to train my dog. And you're like, why do you want a dog then? Why not get something that doesn't require training? So this blue violet is PV15. It's so pretty. It's such a pretty color. It's like the perfect color for this purple in the shadows of stuff. This is the one I go to. Okay, French names. We are at the French names part. So upper rose is rose apéra, same thing. Okay, so cobalt violet light hue is teinte violet cobalt clair, which is also quite literally the same. Permanent magenta is magenta permanent, same thing. Cobalt violet deep hue is teinte violet cobalt foncé, same thing. Red violet is violet rouge, same thing. Helios purple is pourpre Helios, same thing. And blue violet is violet bleu. Again, these are quite literally translated to the same thing, but in French. Nothing amazing here, sadly. Hello, Anastasia. I am swatching Sennelier paints in this pretty awesome dot card that Otto had sent me quite some time ago. Even hamsters need training. Aww. I think cats are the only ones that don't really need training, but you can very easily give them bad habits. Because, like, the only kind of training you have to do with a cat is show them where is the litter box, and that's basically just grab the kitten, put them in the litter box, that's it. They know that that's the place where they do their business. They don't need to be like repeatedly bring back to the spot to be like, no, this is where you do your business. You just have to put them in there. They go like dig dig dig, sniff sniff. Okay, that's the place where I do my stuff, and that's all there is to it. You can teach them bad habits, like to kind of play more rough or to play where they bite, but that's kind of like not exactly training, because that's not something they should do. Cats are good at learning stuff on their own too, like opening doors and this one is French ultramarine blue. It rewets quite nicely, but I think the issue with this one is that it is a mix of two colors. So it is a bit more purpley than just the regular ultramarine blue. Because I think it has like the ultramarine blue pigment and a bit of a violet pigment in it. So yes, it is PB29, so ultramarine blue, and PV15, sorry, the violet pigment that is added in. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Heather, you are perhaps more knowledgeable in that stuff, but do you think a cat like Drifter, who has been sort of used to being rough with humans, can be brought back to being more gentle? Since cats don't really thrive on training and all of that, I don't know how easy it is to undo bad habits. Next color is ultramarine light. have yet to see someone who only swears by ultramarine light colors. Usually people just go for... Usually there is just one ultramarine by range. Or two. You have French, and then you have just like a regular ultramarine blue. But I don't know why. Like Holbein and Sennelier, they have a deep and a light. And usually all it means is that the light one has less tinting strength. Oh, okay, so Heather says that yes, absolutely, you can like unteach bad habits. She says that Drifter is already showing improvement. That's awesome. This pigment is also Ultramarine Blue PB29. My cats Pickle and Scout, they're really not rough. Pickle is insanely gentle. She's really not a rough cat. She plays really well. She always has her claws retracted when she plays, unless it's about grabbing something. Like if you dangle a rope or a toy and she tries to grab it, she might take her claws out. But if she paws you or like touches you while you're playing, it will be clawless. Scout is terrible, but I don't think that's through bad habit. I think she's just not good at playing in general. She's not good at playing with her sister. She's not good at playing with us. She always has her claws out regardless of whatever is going on. And she's the one of the two that is the most, when you sort of overstimulate them, they will bite you. Not hard, just this nipping thing that is like, I'm too stimulated, stop stimulating me. And Scout does that a lot, so it's kind of funny. Okay, so this is Blue Sennelier. Kind of looks like a phthalo blue. But then we have a phthalo blue right there, so what's up with this color? It's PB15 colon 6. That's phthalo blue red shade. But it's epsilon copper phthalocyanine as opposed to the PB15 colon 1, the alpha copper phthalocyanine. Hey, Philip! It's nice to see you here. It's kind of weird because I'm used to seeing you in Valerie's lives. Yeah, here we are more about the watercolors. Oh no, what? Oh, I'm glad you took her in, Heather. I kind of live for the people who give pets a chance to be like, to lead a normal life where they are not stressed or feel attacked to the point where their behavior suffers from it. Like you often see people who are like, oh, this. Well, I think even my parents did it at some point, but yeah, that's another story. Animals, they don't necessarily have it easy, and the way their brain processes stuff is not necessarily like us, and which means that sometimes you get animals that are a bit more feral at first. But that doesn't mean that they will always be feral. It just means that you gotta perhaps listen to what they're saying more and act accordingly. If a cat is really feral, perhaps they just need to be given more time to adjust and learn to trust you. Like that's all there is to it. This is phthalo blue PB15 colon 3. So blue Sennelier is phthalo blue. Did I say phthalo green? I mean these are both phthalo blues, but blue Sennelier is the red shade version, and the one that they named phthalo blue is the green version. By the way, these two, if you want to make a split primary selection of 6 colors, you can really accomplish a lot with these two, and they are great in the sense that they are really, really tinted. They have a lot of strength, and even if most sets will come with ultramarine instead of phthalo blue red shade, if you don't want something that granulates, and if you want something that is like smoother, you can easily switch it with this phthalo blue red shade. Oh no! I just read what Stacy wrote. Stacy wrote, I've heard from a cat behaviorist that cats who play with claws out weren't properly socialized by the mother cat, maybe by leaving the litter too soon. That would really be in character for Scout. Honestly, she has exhibited a lot of behaviors that would be consistent with not being properly mentally ready to be separated from her mom. Though, I mean, Pico and Scout are sisters, so they have the exact same age. And Pico is fine, so I'm guessing that Pico had to, to grow up faster than perhaps Scout did. Next color is Sennelier's Blue. It's kind of a really nice, cool blue color that is really, to me, reminiscent of clear skies. That's kind of the color I see when I think of a sky. Like, perhaps not if I had reference or photos and stuff like that. Perhaps I would identify the colors as different, but when I think of it, when I want to paint it from my imagination, this is the kind of color that I associate with skies. It is a mix of a phthalo blue, PB 15.3, and white. Question. Do you think there is enough difference between the blue shade and red shade phthalo blues? I think there is. I mean, yeah, I think it kind of shows on camera quite decently, but there is kind of a big difference between these two. Like, if I didn't put the name and if I showed these to someone who is not familiar with watercolor, they would definitely think that these are two completely different blues. Oh no! Oh no, Heather, poor Drifter. He got his reality check. Something that completely defied his perception of reality. Like, oh no, I didn't mean to hurt. What? I mean, what you've shown me of Drifter, it seems like the best example of a cat who doesn't want to hurt anyone. Like, it seems like all he wants is love. So maybe he was really like surprised to see that what he considered normal behavior was in fact hurting you. I don't know what 40s and 50s are like in Celsius. It's gotta be what? Between 0 and perhaps 10 degrees? Something like that. We had some really cold weather, like below 30. And I was really worried for the outdoors cat, but they have tricks, I guess. They have earthly hideouts that we wouldn't think are great spots, but I mean, they have to find these places. They have to survive. So I always get super nervous when I see that it's gonna be super cold, because I'm like, but all these cats outdoors, and all, to a certain extent, all the birds too. So this odd color that is kind of a periwinkle color, a bit. It's named Royal Blue, and it is a mix of PB15 Colin 6, so our phthalo blue red shade, a white PW6, and ultramarine blue PB29. 50 is 10 Celsius, 40 is 4 Celsius. Well, cats can withstand that kind of temperature quite decently, I think. Because the way they curl up, they really can like preserve their warmth. I get worried when it's like way below zero because I'm like, how do you fight that? That's kind of really intense. Heather is like, I think Heather Cat Lady's name is because she's part cat, part lady. I think that's why. That's where it's from. The green shade, the phthalo blue green shade makes super nice green mixes with yellows as well. Because it has this yellow undertone, if I can say that, it makes for the most vivid green. So it's really nice when you want to paint some spring greens or like a really bright summery scene. You can use it for the greens. And if you want to have more muted yellows, then you can use the phthalo blue red shade. Okay, so here we have cerulean blue. This one doesn't say hue or anything, so I figured that it's the genuine stuff. It is PB28. Time for French. Okay, so French ultramarine is bleu outre-mer français. Same thing. Sorry, ultramarine light is bleu outre-mer clair. Same thing. Wow. I don't know if you can see, but this name was so long that it printed all over the other name next to it. Bleu Sennelier is bleu Sennelier. Okay, this is... Okay, I think this was supposed to be like a small character under this color, but it says phthalo rouge, so red phthalo. So I guess that's some kind of clarification for this one that didn't print. Phthalo blue is called bleu phthalo vert, in parentheses primaire. So they basically say that phthalo blue is the green shade, and it's also the one they consider their primary blue. Cinereous blue is called cendre bleu, which is like blue ash. Royal blue is bleu royal, same thing. Cerulean blue is bleu cerulean, same thing. I second the idea of just shutting the door and ignoring the mess. Nope. If you can see it, it's not there. Okay, next color, emerald green. I love this color. It's a really weird one. Like, it feels like there is definitely some white in there, but I don't think they list it. I think they just say that it's like PG7 or something. But there is definitely something more to it, because it's not like the way this color usually looks. It's a nice calming green. I really like it. It's supposed to be PG36, but it's definitely not the color we see for this usually. My cats, I think it's weird. It's weird because there's two sort of sounds that they recognize and have been sort of trained to react to. One is hey, especially said in a loud voice, like hey. That's when they know that they are either doing something they shouldn't be doing, or that they have to be careful because they might be grabbed and like removed quickly. That's like the warning sound that they recognize. And the other one is aller, which is basically like go, and it's the one I use when I want to usher them out of a room. If I like prod them or just look at them and say aller, 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 they will leave. But I think that's just through force of habit and possibly like food reinforcement a couple of times. Like I ask them to leave the room so I can close the door and give them food, so they associate the sound with the fact that food is coming. This is usually, I think, what we perceive as the pigment that is associated to this color. But I don't know why they wouldn't list any kind of white pigment in the emerald green. That's just weird. Yeah, so Sennelier green is PG36, the same pigment that is listed for the emerald green. Sorry. Okay, cadmium green light. The only other brand that I can think of that has cadmium green colors is Holbein. It is a mix of PG7 and PY35, so that's probably where the cadmium part is from, because PY35 is cadmium yellow. Okay, next is Hooker's Green. That name makes me laugh when I see that on the Discord server, because we have a Discord server. There is a channel for all of us who likes to knit and crochet and do any kind of yarn or thread work, like embroidery would fit in there and anything, and to kind of keep it in the theme, the channel is named Hooker's Green, because you can crochet and use hooks, so haha, sorry. We are such a funny bunch. Hooker's Green is a mix of PY83 and PG36. Next one is a color that I personally really like, and it's Chromium Oxide Green. Oh, this one is beautiful. I love the granulation it has. And to me, that is the exact color of sort of, you know, this in the summer when you have grass that is half dry. It's not bright green anymore, but it's like it's still green, but it's slowly processing to yellow, and there are some yellow grasses in there, so it changes the overall color of it. It kind of looks like this. It is PG17. I'm gonna have to like do a thorough stretching session after this. Next color is Green Earth. This pigment, I think though theirs is weird. I think Sennelier lists theirs as being a brown pigment, but any kind of color that is named Green Earth is usually really hard to re-wet, because the most common pigment for these colors is PG23, and it is just hard to wet. It's like butter's pink. It's one of those pigments that no matter how much you work at it, you're still better off keeping these ones in the tubes and using some fresh paints when needed. I think this color is one of the least tinting one I've ever seen in all of the ranges of paints. It is a really, really light green. Really, really light. It is supposed to be PBR7, but it's definitely one of the weirdest PBR7s I've ever seen. Another derp green. Yeah, it's a really derpy green, this one. I agree. This is one of the derpiest greens. And then we have sap green. This is one of those colors I feel I would have to research the name because, well, I don't know. I've only seen maple sap because of maple syrup. And it is definitely not this color. So I'm guessing that this refers to some kind of thing that is perhaps not what we would think just hearing the name. Sap green is a mix of PB29 and PY153. Thanks, Sault. And hi, Sia. Welcome. This is kind of a really not pretty line of separation there. Okay, French. Time for French. Okay. The emerald green is called vert véronèse. Véronèse is not French for emerald. That would be emerald. So I'm not quite sure. We had a vert emerald, like the viridian green they called vert emerald, and the emerald green they called vert véronèse. And I think usually they perhaps swap those names in in other brands I've seen. Okay, so Sennelier green is vert Sennelier. Cadmium green light is vert de cadmium clair, so same thing. Hooker's green is vert hooker. Chromium oxide green is vert oxyde de chrome. Green earth is terre verte naturelle. And sap green is vert de vessie, which we've already talked about. Bladder green. So yeah, they're all fairly literal translations except for the emerald green and the sap green. Next. And I grab my brush by the wet part. Excellent. Yellow ochre. Well, at least this one we got well in the earth tones, so that's nice. This was also one of the driest dots on this chart. Like, it literally had separated from the cardboard. It's the only one that did that, so it means that this pigment dries a bit drier and harder than perhaps other Sennelier paints. It is PY43. Thanks, Heather, that's true. Usually we draw and paint cats, whether in illustration form or from your pets. And today is kind of different because I was feeling like doing something a bit different, since I feel like I'm always drawing cats during Caturday, and sometimes it's kind of really repetitive and weird for the brain. We talk about cats all the time, though. That's a thing that is always there. This is golden ochre. Sorry, I have the hiccups. It's quite literally a slightly redder version of yellow ochre in terms of color. It's really similar, but it's just a bit more red. It is a mix of 3 pigments. So we have PY119, PY42 and PY83. I like Spanish gold ochre as well, I gotta say. It's still one that I find a bit hard to get a proper recipe that withstand time well. Like my perhaps first batches would keep on getting more and more dry to the point where it became kind of difficult to get color out of it. But yeah. And Quin Gold. I'm kind of surprised that there is not more Quin Gold hues, because this is like no one has the genuine Quin Gold anymore, so why isn't it all named hue? Hey Otto, did you get a pan of Quin Gold? It is a mix of 3 pigments, this one. It is PR101, PY150 and PR206. I have a batch of paints. I know I've been saying this for months, but it's literally something that takes months to get ready. But I have a bunch of pans that are wrapped and ready to photograph and list. I wish there was a way I could skip this part. The photographing part is really like photographing and formatting all the pictures and then preparing all the Etsy listings takes forever. But I have a bunch of pans that are wrapped and ready to go, and I have a bunch of pans that are drying, and I have a bunch of pans that needs to be wrapped. I wish I could just take a big picture of like all the pans and just say, there, fight for it, and just run away. You deal with it. I don't wanna. Okay, next color is Burnt Sienna. It's also one of the Burnt Siennas that I quite like, though Daniel Smith's regular Burnt Sienna is really nice too. I just need these colors to be easy to re-wet and to have some kind of pigment load that is decent. I got started with Italian Burnt Sienna by Daniel Smith, and it's super duper hard to re-wet, and it doesn't have a lot of pigment. And it made me hate this color for the longest time until I was able to try out some versions that were much easier to re-wet and would deliver sufficient color to make them workable. That was my situation. Hey, that's great, Lab Accident. It's nice that you looked it up, and yeah, good surprise. It was the real thing. Okay, so whoa, I would have never thought from the dot that this was a red color. It's super dark. But it is Permanent Alizarin Crimson Deep, or Derp if you want. This reminds me of the is it PBR 25 color? It's kind of reddish brown pigment that is super duper nice. I feel like this has gotta be like PR 209 or something. Oh, it is PR 206. A battle royale for Ev's watercolor. That would be like inhumane. That would be like Black Friday of the messes. Hey, have fun preparing soup, Tobias. Thank you so much for being there. Bye bye. Buy one of every color. That's funny. Oh no, Havoc is awake, ready to... Havoc is basically like my dot of Caput Mortem. You have all these dots that are very nice and fairly even, except maybe like this one was a bit like wild. And then you get the Caput Mortem one that just went like exploded and went all over the place. I feel like Havoc felt it. It woke her up. This is an insanely beautiful color, and as far as I can tell, Sennelier it's a fairly unique color to Sennelier, this Caput Mortem color. It is this really nice sort of reddish purple opaque color that has amazing granulation. Let me try and get this nice and wet so that it granulates and shows its nature. Like ultramarine blue and Caput Mortem are two of the colors. Well, they're turquoise green. Like these three colors. This one, oops, hold on. The Caput Mortem, the ultramarine deep, and the turquoise green. They are three Sennelier colors that I would continue buying these from Sennelier rather than buying these from other brands. Not a lot of brands have Caput Mortem, if any. I don't think Daniel Smith has anything that is exactly like this, and the Holbein doesn't, and perhaps Schmincke has their new mahogany brown is lovely, but it's not this hue, it's a different hue. This is really nice and unique, and it mixes so well with the turquoise green. It's so beautiful. Caput Mortem, Deadhead. The name is quite awesome. Like, you know, like Caput is in itself an expression. Like we use it here. Like to say when you say you have a car and the motor is dead. Well, you will say that the car is kaput. Have like Caput Mortem in feline form. It's a derpy dot. It's PR 101, but it's really a special pigment. Like, I've mulled PR 101, I've seen a lot of PR 101, and not many of them are close to this. Even Kremer's Caput Mortem is not exactly like this. Okay, and our next color here is Payne's Gray. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they translated Caput Mortem in French. I think I made my Caput Mortem swatch way too intense to see the proper granulation, but it is beautiful. You have Otto and me saying how gorgeous this color is. I don't think you need any more like endorsement of this color. I'm glad that Sennelier sells 21 milliliters tubes for these colors, these few colors that I really like. Okay, time for French. So yellow ochre is ocre jaune. Golden ochre is ocre d'or, so fairly literal translations. Quinacridone gold is eau de quinacridone, quite literal. Burnt sienna, terre de cygne brûlée, literal. Oh, this one is interesting. So permanent alizarin crimson deep is Garance brune, so basically brown matter. Yeah. I will show the mix. Yeah, after I'm done, I can mix the Caput and the turquoise, and you will see how beautiful it is. I'm really excited to mix it. Oh, you know what? They didn't translate Caput Mortem. It's Caput Mortem in French as well. And Payne's Gray is Gris de Payne, which is literal translation. Aww. I would have loved if it had been like a dead dude's head, like Tête de Mort. Been so funny. Do you know the skull, the visual of the skull that is quite common. there is an expression here to talk about it. Like, we can say it's a con, which is the literal translation of a skull, but as a kid we would always call this like a tête de mort, which is basically dead person's head. Okay, Payne's Gray was a mix of 3 pigments: PV19, PB15:1, and PBK7. Caput and caput, different words, different etymology. Oh, interesting. Okay, warm gray. Is a mix of what? 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. So this one. There's definitely a white. So yeah, a white PW6, yellow PY42. It's a black pigment, but I think it's a gray color actually when you have PBK11, and a red pigment PR101. It is a really beautiful color, but it's not the most transparent one if you are the kind of person who really is after transparency. In itself, the white, red, and yellow pigment they have in there are not the most transparent, so... Hey, Lena! I showed your postcard. I don't know if you were there, but I showed the postcard and also the lettering and the ink on the back, because your lettering is really good and the ink is lovely. Okay, next we have Sennelier Gray, which looks to be kind of a cooler gray. Oh, okay. That card. Is this okay? Is the swatch sheet fine? Because I should be in camera. So Sennelier Gray is a mix of white PW6, black PBK9, and green pigment PG17. There is so much pickle hair floating on my swamp water. It's quite funny. Okay, then we have greenish umber, and there is a scalp hair in there. Pickle was on the table earlier, and yet all I find in the swatches are dark hair, and Pickle doesn't have any dark hair on her. She's quite... You've seen her. She's quite white and orange. Okay, so greenish umber looks exactly like perylene green. That's peculiar. It is a mix of 3 pigments. Oh, who is leaving? Oh, bye, Tsukaboo. Thank you so much for being there. Bye bye. Okay, so this one is PB60, so a blue pigment. PBK7 black pigment, and a yellow one, PY83. Huh. It's basically a green mixed in with the black to get this dark green. Makes sense. They could have gone for just regular perylene green, but I guess not. Next one, light gray. Alrighty. Looks like a kind of a, I would say a bit of a lavender gray. Kind of a pretty color. I'm really thankful that ages ago Otto sent me one of her prototype card, because like I've seen many of these colors, but there are quite a few that I had never seen in swatch form, and I gotta say all the grays, even if they are perhaps more to use in certain circumstances because they are more opaque and not colors that I would want to mix with something else necessarily, but they are really nice colors, and I will definitely keep it in mind next time I'm on the lookout for colors for like buildings in illustration or that, because it's quite nice to have a color in this hues that is this color straight from the tube. So if you have to paint the same location, say on a comic page, and you want to paint the same building, you don't want to have to mix the same color every time because you might get it wrong. But if you use one of these as a base, well, you are sure that you're going to start with the same thing every time. So that's kind of really interesting to see these colors. Like, I wouldn't have known that these, like how they look and how they, like, this is really lovely, I think. Light gray is a mix of white, PW6, PB29, blue, and PBK7. I think Caput Mortem was also made from perhaps dead humans, but maybe not mummies. I always get the story confused and mixed up in my head. Okay, next one is Lamp Black. If I am correct, Lamp Black is named like that because it is made from soot. Like from burning stuff, like wood and all that. And Ivory Black is made from burning bones. So that's why you have the two different blacks. I would love if Sennelier had a Mars Black, or a Lunar Black if you take the name from Daniel Smith's version. Something like a really granulating black, because I feel like with the honey recipe, it would make for a really lovely color that is super fun to use. Then black. This color, oh, there's yellow in this one. That's peculiar. PBK9 and PY43. Huh. Okay, let's see the chat about all the dead people. Otto says, I thought Caput Mortem was deadhead as in color of a plant, like a rose that needs deadheading. Yeah, I see that. I saw that too, Anastasia. That's funny. Anastasia says, when this came to light, some artists even buried their paints since they were human remains technically. Hey, Frida, hi! Okay, Lab Accident says, Caput Mortem, from what I read, was made from blood from dead bodies. Yeah, that's what I heard too, like, Caput Mortem was made from dead bodies bits, like blood and all of that, and mummy bauxite was the one made from mummies. And back then, even if mummies were archaeological finds, they would find so many in Egypt that you could buy like cheap mummies and grind them into paint, which is so weird. Kind of a weird thing to say and not super awesome. But yeah, eventually mummies became perhaps more rare, and also perhaps artists were like, hey, I don't necessarily want to paint with dead people. Just saying, you know. Okay, and Ivory Black. I'm gonna try to swatch only the Ivory Black of this swatch that the Caput Mortem has conquered. I don't do special paint orders really because it is too time consuming and too much of a lengthy process. Initially, my idea for selling paints was that I wanted to try my hand at making paints, but it makes a lot of paint for a single person. in a batch. So I was gonna sell the extra pans in my Etsy shop, and it would also help me cover up the costs of making the things. So I don't approach making paint with the mindset of making it a business, not at this point at least. So when I have paints to sell, I usually have very small quantities, and there is no, like, I don't know when I'm gonna restock a certain paint. Sometimes I feel like mulling a certain pigments, and sometimes I don't. Some pigments are a pain in the ass to mull, like Prussian blue. Prussian blue is a pain in the ass. Indigo is kind of a difficult one too. So the colors are lovely, but it's just I have so many things to do that mulling colors doesn't necessarily come first. Our last color is raw sepia. Literal translation of raw sepia makes me laugh. Kind of funny. Okay. Ivory black was PBK9. Well, black pudding is not humans. it's pigs, right? Right? I mean, not that I would eat it because I'm a bit difficult like that, but still, it's not human people. it's pig, so like there's less of a stigma about using animals for stuff than using humans. Sterling green, anyone? Okay, raw sepia is a mix of PBR7 and PBK7. Oh, let's do the French part. Forgot the French part. Warm gray is gris chaud, literally the same. Sennelier gray is gris Sennelier, also the same. Greenish umber is terre verte brûlée. That's interesting. It's like green, burnt green earth. Which, I mean, this looks more like burnt green earth than any umber color. Umber colors are really more brownish than that. Oh, yeah, there it is. If you look at raw umber here, burnt umber, like, and then greenish umber, well, raw umber is kind of greenish to begin with, so I don't know. Light gray is gris froid, so cold gray in English. Lamp black is called noir de bougie. Bougie, not the way you are used to hearing bougie, but in bougie is basically a candle. So it's like candle black, which fits because it's like lamp black, it's soot, so yeah. Ivory black is noir d'ivoire, which is literally the same, and raw sepia is sepia naturelle, so like natural sepia instead of raw sepia. So that's it for the French. Now let's do the mix. Let me grab some swatching paper. Okay. Grouchy, that's kind of funny. Grouchy says, man, I am saddened I will never experience the days when you could paint with dead bodies and burnt ivory. You will possibly also live longer than in those days, so perhaps that's a good trade-off, you know. Let me just grab a... It's a big face, but my small palettes are just behind the camera, so... Just a small palette. Yeah. Oh, Jazz! Hi, Jazz! Jazz is out early. What's up, Jazz? What's up? Okay, so let's grab some of the turquoise green. And some of the Caput Mortem. I'm making those really watery so they granulate nicely, because that's what we want to see. I don't know if you can see. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So you can get some really, really nice grays with those too. And as they settle, there is a slight separation of the turquoise and the Caput Mortem that happens. And you sort of end up with a gray that is super lively. In my opinion, anyway. She's busy chewing my eye mask now. Aww. Hello, Jazz. Bismuth yellow. That's bismuth vanadate, right? I don't think I have that one. Perhaps I have it in the Renaissance range. What's so special about it? Is it fairly opaque? What's special about bismuth yellow? Daniel Smith has it. Oh, So is there anything else you want to see about this mix? I know it's kind of hard to see, but in the grays, like perhaps less this one because this one is a bit more blue, so it's the blue that is more visible. But in this one, that's a bit more really in between both. You have areas that are slightly redder, like the Caput Mortem, and others that are slightly more turquoise. All in a very neutral color. So if you make a flat of this mix for a wall or a stone formation of anything, it's already really, really lively because of the granulation and the separation that occurs. It's really one of my favorite mixes. Interesting. Temple says, was it the bright red that was an R for pigment? Jackson's watercolors bright red that we all think might be Sennelier is PR254 and PO43. Maybe. It would be interesting to swatch both and see if they are similar. So is there anything else to include about this? I think I'm at recap time. Time for recap, okay. I don't think it's gonna zoom because it's not set to autofocus, but if you happen to have these two colors in your stash, try mixing them for fun. It's really fun and it's really nice, a really nice gray. If you don't have them, well, that's not really a problem. Well, this one you can have in many other companies. It's PG50, so look for that pigment. But this Caput Mortem is fairly unique. So yeah, if you get a chance to try it out or swatch it, I don't know how it's gonna look on this one. probably gonna look super bright. But yeah, that's the thing. Alright, so recap. Thank you so much for being here with me today as I swatched this pretty awesome full set dot card. It's a prototype that Otto sent me some time ago. And it's a prototype because the Sennelier paints are too soft and too sticky to travel well in a dot card. I didn't have issues with peeling mine off earlier because I've had this for a fairly long time, and it's in the winter and it's fairly dry in the apartment, so yeah, it was kind of easier to pull out the plastic cover. But if it was in the summer with the humidity and the heat, I think this would be really difficult to manage. So that's the dot card, and well, I could take off the tape of this one, right? We could do that. Let me tape this. Because this one is dry. And it's gonna show the colors better if there is not the blue tape around everything. Take it off, take it off. I'm doing this in the least ASMR way possible. I'm not a big ASMR person. It just makes me really anxious. Like, why is everything so loud? Why are you taking forever to do this thing? Just get on with it. That's basically my brain. Okay, question. So after the swatching here, any specific colors you find unique or special to Sennelier besides the ones already mentioned? The ones I mentioned were the ultramarine deep, the turquoise green, and the caput mortem. Let me take a look. I think this Chinese orange is fairly unique to Sennelier. It's kind of a nice natural orange. I heard a cat. This forest green for a convenience green is kind of fairly nice too. There aren't that many deep, dark convenience greens out there. I think the cooked celery, the brown pink color, is also fairly unique to this range. I don't think this sheet is fully dry yet though, so I might not be able to peel it off yet. But caput mortem color is here. I think the grays are interesting, not necessarily for everyone, because I know a lot of people are gonna not be interested in these semi-opaque colors, but oops, would help if I was on camera, right? These grays. I know. Oh, did you see that? Daniel Smith is releasing like what about 10 new colors this year. All of them are grays except for one that is a Primete color that is red jasper. I'm really interested in getting that red jasper one because the swatch looks lovely. All the other grays I'm not exactly interested. It's stuff like Otto's gonna laugh, but it has a full tube of James Gray, and you have like a bunch of grays by Alvaro Castagnet, and a few by Joseph Bookvik as well. Zoe says, I just tried the mix with Kremer's turquoise and Schminke's Indian red and it works. Interesting. Otto highly recommends M. Graham's ultramarine blue too. Yes, 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 yes. It is insane. I need to use it more. But holy moly, when I saw the swatch that Otto put in her video, I was like, this is the most perfect, deep, intense, smooth blue ever. It's beautiful. Yeah, what was I saying? I don't know. I was saying stuff. Did you find the image? I think Tiffany shared the image on her Facebook if you want to find it quickly at all. But it's basically like a bunch of grays that are like all kinds of warm, cool, or grays, whatnot. And then you have red Jasper Genuine that is quite a promising primitive color. It looks really nice. I'm just bummed that it's a bunch of grays because I'm like, and they're all like, I don't know. I don't have any issues with naming colors after painters because obviously we've been doing that for quite some time on some colors, but I just don't find it helpful knowing what the color is. Like if I say Jane's gray, do you have any inkling about if it's a neutral gray? Is it a warm gray? Is it a cool gray? Perhaps the name is like Jane, neutral, Jane's gray, whatever. New Daniel Smith color: Alvaro's Caliente gray, warm; Alvaro's Fresco gray, cool; Jane's gray; Joseph Z's warm gray. Bleh. Joseph Z's neutral gray, Joseph Z's cool gray. Hey, Grouchy, if you want to build a palette of only gray black color, you can just look at the Kramer one they have for black and white, just as a reference, because I think it's pretty interesting. They have a bunch of whites and light grays in there, but it goes from white to black, and I think it's very interesting to see which pigments they put in there. It has gray titanium and red Jasper Genuine. They all look kind of gray. Yeah, that's what I think too. I think the gray titanium is perhaps the one I find a bit less odd. I wonder if it's made with titanium white, so that could be like helpful, but it kind of feels a bit like wanting to bank on the fact that some people are going to be hyped for these painters and they're going to buy the thing just because it has the name on it, in a way. Not that it's bad, but from like when I hear, hey, we're releasing new paints, I get all excited, and then when I saw that it was that, I was like, oh, bummer. What were they named while the painter was still alive? Well, I guess that they were named according to these painters because they helped develop the mix. Perhaps these are mixes that they often do, and Daniel Smith decided to make it a thing. You know where I stand on Jane's gray? Nothing like Jane Blondell is an amazing resource, and she's really knowledgeable and a great painter, but she did not invent that mix, and it just kind of puzzles me that it was named after her, because it's basically like taking one of the most basic mixes of watercolor and making it something extra, when you're like, well, this is just a basic skill, this is just a basic mix that everyone should know about and know how to get it instead of relying to the premix thing. Or I could be just a grumpy curmudgeon, that's also an option. Spukvik is pronounced Spukvik? I don't know. Sorry. I tried. Hold on, I think someone wants to be on camera. Let me go check. Ben oui. Tiens. Tu veux pas dire bonjour aux gens? Dis bonjour aux gens. Hello. Hello. Hey, baby. So we started the stream with a cat and we're gonna end it with a cat, I guess. Hey, baby. She was meowing right outside the door. Meow, 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 pay attention to me. I am a kitty too. I am cute somewhat. Hey, bye Zoe. Bye bye. Allez, Scooty. Oui, c'est un gros baby. That's the big baby one. That's the one that was not properly ready to leave her mommy. Big ass baby. Of course you knock stuff down. That's my frowny face kitty cat. Oh, sorry, the last letter C is pronounced like ch in English. Oh, it's Bukvich. Oh. Interesting. I didn't notice, sorry. It was there, I should have noticed. I think I got confused by the capital U. Why don't you show your face to the lovely people in the chat, baby? Show your face. Yes. Yes, gosh, fast. Bébito. Yes, there is masking fluid in there. You can buy bottles of refill that you just have to screw on the new applicator on top. Well, you use the same, but you can just like switch the bottles. This is the first bottle of these that I use, so I haven't had to replace it yet. But it works well, and I really like it. Eh, toi. She's always wagging her tail. Hello, mais oui, les gros câlins. She's purring, but she's really more quiet than Peko. A cat still is a weapon of mass destruction. Bye, Scout! So, that was Scout. It was a really in-character encounter with her. Alright. Oh man, there's so much fur. Wow, she sheds like crazy. It's more noticeable with her because her fur is dark. Like the white fur on this is invisible, but the black fur. Alright, so let me just get the pretty colors back on the screen, and it's gonna be the end of the stream for today. Thank you so much everyone for being here and being fine with me doing something a bit different today. I've really, I keep postponing swatching this, and I wanted to do it, and I wanted these to use as reference, so I'm really glad I finally had an opportunity to do it. Sorry. Whoa, that was gross. Sorry. I've been talking so much. Okay. So, yeah. So today we swatched all the Sennelier colors thanks to this prototype card that Otto had sent me a long time ago. It did not pan out because of the nature of the paints, but still, I'm really glad that I got one of the prototypes and I was able to swatch all these lovely colors. And as you can see, they are quite nice. This This is a really interesting range of colors, and it offers a lot of options, even in areas that usually are a bit sad. Like, these are quite nice oranges, and we have lots of nice greens, and a couple of great purples. Their dioxazine purple is really, really nice and dark, and we saw that you can really make something awesome with a few of their really great colors, like the Caput Mortem, the turquoise green, and the ultramarine deep are my favorites. And yeah, so if you are curious about Discord or want to send a postcard, all that stuff is in the description below. Also, make sure you go check out Otto's channel if you like watercolors, because she has a lot of stuff and a lot of good stuff. And yeah, she's my awesome moderator, so thank you so much, Otto. And looking at chat. Have you tried the Ferminator? We have one. That's what we use to brush the cats, but they hate being brushed, so it doesn't really solve a problem. But it's the only brush that works with their fur, because their fur is so fine and weird that all the other brushes, they just never pick up the fur. Only the Ferminator works. Better work, that Ferminator, because it's like $50 for a brush for pets, so that's another thing. Okay, so have a good weekend, everyone. Have a good night. It is nighttime here already. It's so dark outside. And I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see each other quite soon. Bye bye.